Okay, so possibly a slight change here in the way things are being done. I was going to use this getting into objects to introduce the IDE I like. We'll talk about this in a second. So this is Spyder, S-P-Y-D-E-R. It's written entirely in Python. It has some powerful tools to work. In particular, I was going to come over here. We search for your Spyder. You should, well, there's some sports gear, but then right below that you should see Spyder IDE. And just a couple links down is the Spyder GitHub. I'm going to open that in a new tab, and then we'll go over that in a second. But like most Python stuff, it's just the name .org, spyder-ide.org. Scientific development environment, it's kind of set up to handle AI stuff, so it's got a lot of powerful stuff, but there's some good monitoring involved, so basic packaging, and uses the IPython instead of regular interpreter. A lot of stuff, you can download it from this page, or a couple links below that you saw that you can go right to GitHub and grab the source code and deal with all of it that way. So somewhere on here, Spyder, and then like all the stuff about the app. So I was thinking I might be able to, at the very least, scavenge this for parts when I get ready to do the interface. A whole lot of things in there, including the part I liked. I'll point out that there's a variable monitor whenever software runs. And I was going to use this point to introduce this because I thought there were getters and setters on it, but the last time I had it installed on my computer, I probably installed an outside package. But there's no getters and setters, so I'm going to write a quick script to generate that. Since our game objects will be using inheritance a lot more, we'll need to do the double underscore thing, which means we'll need our getters and setters to work with a little bit better. But I don't see a generator in here generate those by default, but that's not a hard thing to script up, so I'm going to write a small script that does that, but thought I'd go ahead and mention this anyway, even if I'm not going to use it like I originally planned, which really I just wanted that one button. But original IDE got a run button, step through the code, some debugging tools. So maybe as this starts to get more complicated, we should jump over and start using this instead of Notepad and PowerShell. But at least I thought there was a generate the getters and setters, which is what I was wanting to use it for here, but I don't see it, so I'm going to write a quick script that will kind of do that, and be back in a split second after the editing is done. So I might as well point out along the way that this is what you get when you hit the new file button. So kind of a useful start right off the bat. Just thought I'd point at the new file stuff a little bit better than when we do a new file in Notepad++. So I'll always start using this, but whenever the first one runs, I'm going to point at this. This is the main feature I was wanting to get here and thinking might scavenge this IDE for parts, including this variable monitor and maybe some other debugging tools when we get to our interface. But I'll be right back with the code for getters and setters written. Okay, so I got this put together. Nothing too fancy here, just writing a file, pass in a module name, a name for the class, a parent name, and any attributes it'll need. It'll just open a file, kind of write, open and start writing the file, add a little bit of space between them, create the class with the name and a parent if one's passed in. Then the init method, add all, also a list of attributes is very important. So a list of attributes, so it'll add all the attributes into the init method with the self underscore thing. So then generate all the getters and setters. And I put a quick testing version together here. So test in, test, test, and then this is going to create a module called test, test, test. And then a way to test that once it's created. So if we come over here and save this, well, I might as well show this when this runs. Over here in the Variable Explorer, oh well, this is a useful tool as well. At some point I just double clicked on the word with and it went and tried to look up documentation for that. But the Variable Explorer, this is the main piece I want. I want to kind of scavenge this piece to add to our interface when it's ready for the graphical user interface. Just to show it, I'm just going to throw a variable in here, x equals 5, something that doesn't really apply. Then I'll go ahead and run this file. And you can see we get the little information about it. And there's some other tools like that that could be helpful in this file explorer and things. Some tools that might be scavenged, but this is definitely my favorite IDE to work with in Python. That's why I'd like to use it. And you can see that it created that test, test, test file. Should I open that here? So it created the class, put in an init method and a bunch of getters and setters. I suppose I could add some space between there. And on readability issues, I probably could use the space right there. So I'm going to come back and add some new lines between them, and then I'll try to add this plugin in. I'm not sure where to add it from the actual installer, but I was going to download the source code from GitHub anyway, so I might just start running it from source code, and I think I'll start using this for the project. But if we, well, yeah, I'm going to take this out and rerun this test. Well, close that. Yes, save the changes. Then on testing, I'm going to not pass in a parent because I don't have a test parent. So save that. I'll run that. And it should have created the file again. Oops, yes, so created the file. So if we open that up, here's our class, no parent this time, but still the initialize, then getters and setters for all the that list of attributes we passed it in. If we come over here and now run this, see it creates the test class. Oh, also put it in the Variable Explorer. I could have just waited and pointed to that there. But it created the test class, did a print statement to get our test the getters, reassigned all the values to test the setters, and then printed those back out. So I think I'm going to start using this IDE, but something like this is very useful. And you can see it's not much. It's 31 lines of code. Only took a few minutes to type up there, which just is just writing the stuff for writing all the methods for the initialize and getters and setters. And I'm going to add some space in between here. I'll put more space between that and put a line between all of our methods. Oh, not there. So that does all the initialization. Then after that, I'll put a line. That's still not the right place. Take that one out and put a line between each of the getters, and then put a blank line between each of the setters. And I didn't mean to copy over a white space. That definitely caused problems. So now if we come over to testing, I can take that out. Don't need that anymore. Had a better example of that anyway. And hit run. Uh-oh. Extra white space. That's a problem in Python. There we go. So save that. Now try to run this again. So it ran. So if I come over here, you can see it added. It will just keep adding classes. Looks like the spacing set up a little bit better to read because we do still need to come back and make at least some slight adjustments, but it's a starter. Cuts down on what we have to use, so a tool like that is incredibly useful. So I thought I'd go ahead and put it together before we get started into making our classes. So in the next video, we'll start making our classes, and I think I'm going to use this Spider IDE, which you can download from spider-ide.org. Just go to downloads, there's an installer, or jump over to GitHub and get the source code, and that way you have that way you can customize it to fit your needs a little bit better. Which is what I'm going to do. Like this thing just added, this little function I just added, I'm going to assign that to a button somewhere on this IDE, because I think that'll be a very useful button, and we're going to make a lot of classes which will be inheriting from each other, which means we don't want to call the parent's X attribute, we want to call the child's, which means we're going to need getters and setters everywhere and do the underscore stuff. So I will see you in the next video where we actually start putting our classes together, probably using this IDE from now on, Spider IDE. It's definitely my favorite IDE to work with, and it's written in Python, so we'll be able to scavenge some pieces of this to work into our interface as well. So see you in the next video to get our objects together.